Today, we're going to walk through something that's never easy to discuss, but is incredibly important: the Islamic funeral. Think of this as a practical, gentle guide to help you navigate what can be a really difficult time with a sense of clarity and purpose.
And look, if you are watching this right now because you've just lost someone, we want to start by just acknowledging that. Please accept our deepest condolences. We really hope this can serve as a steady hand, guiding you through the steps ahead to honor your loved one according to their faith.
You know, the very first thing a Muslim says when they hear of a death is this phrase, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. And it is so much more than just a set of words. It's this profound declaration of faith, a grounding reminder that we all belong to God and that to Him is our ultimate return. So let's begin right at the start. Those first few hours after a loved one passes away. The Islamic tradition is very clear on some immediate, gentle steps that are taken to preserve the dignity of the deceased. These are really the 4 immediate acts of care, and they should be done as soon as possible and with so much gentleness. Each one has a purpose: closing the eyes, securing the jaw so it doesn't hang open, straightening the limbs before they stiffen, and of course, covering the body with a clean sheet. It's all about respect for the person who was just with us. Now, something you'll hear emphasized in the Muslim community is the need for a swift burial, ideally within 24 hours. There's a deep wisdom here. It's seen as a final honor for the deceased, and it also helps the family begin the process of closure and move through those first raw stages of grief. Okay, from there, we move to the next stage of preparing the body for its final resting place. Before burial, there are 2 really core rituals: the washing and the shrouding. And these are seen as the last acts of physical service we can do for our loved ones, and they're just packed with spiritual meaning. The washing is called ghusl, and it's way more than just a bath. It's a sacred act of purification, or tahara. The whole idea is to prepare the believer to meet God in a state of complete cleanliness. And to maintain modesty, men will wash men and women will wash women, though it's also permissible for a husband or wife to wash their spouse. After the ghusl comes the kathan, which is the shrouding. And this is such a powerful symbol of equality. Everyone, whether they were a king or a street sweeper, is wrapped in the exact same simple, white, unstitched cloth. It's a stark reminder: there are no pockets in the kafan. You take nothing with you. Now, the shrouding process is just slightly different for men and women. Men are typically wrapped in 3 pieces of cloth, while women are wrapped in 5. You can see the extra pieces for women here: a headscarf and a chest wrap. And that's all to provide extra modesty, a value that is upheld and respected even in death. So once the body has been washed and shrouded, the community comes together for one of the most important parts of this entire farewell, the Salat al-Janaza, or the funeral prayer. This prayer is what's known as a fardh kifaya. What does that mean? It means it's a collective duty, a communal obligation. As long as a group of Muslims gathers and performs the prayer, the responsibility is lifted from the entire community. It's a beautiful concept, really, because it ensures that no family has to bear this burden alone. In fact, the larger the congregation, the greater the blessing is considered for the deceased. The janazah prayer is pretty unique because it's performed entirely while standing. There's no bowing or prostration. It's structured around 4 takbirs, which is when we say Allahu Akbar. After the first one, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha. After the second, you send blessings on the Prophet Muhammad. The third is where you make a personal, heartfelt prayer for the deceased, and the 4th one concludes the prayer. All right, now we come to the final act of the funeral process, the burial itself. And this is where Islamic traditions can sometimes run into challenges with local laws and regulations, especially for those of us living in the United States. So this really becomes the key question for so many Muslim families, right? The tradition, the sunnah, calls for the body to be placed in direct contact with the earth, wrapped only in its simple shroud. But American cemetery rules can be quite different. So how do we bridge that gap? And this slide really lays out the challenge perfectly. You have the Islamic ideal over here: simplicity, modesty, and natural return to the earth. And then you have common U.S. regulations on the other side, which often mandate things like caskets and even concrete vaults, which create this barrier between the body and the soil. But here's the good news. There are solutions, and they're becoming more common. Green burials, for example, are a fantastic option because they often forbid embalming and vaults, which aligns perfectly with Islamic practice. Another great innovation is a bottomless vault. It satisfies the legal requirement for a liner but still allows the body to rest directly on the earth. And if a casket is absolutely mandatory, the most humble and acceptable option is just a simple, plain wooden box.
Now, after the burial is complete, the focus really shifts. It turns towards supporting the grieving family and honoring the memory of the person we've lost. And here, too, Islam provides a very clear and compassionate framework.
Grief is understood as a completely natural human response. Crying is not just permitted, it's expected. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wept openly when he lost his son. What is forbidden is something called niyaha. This is loud, excessive wailing, tearing clothes, beating one's chest. And that's discouraged because it's seen as a kind of protest against God's will, rather than an acceptance of it with patience.
And maybe one of the most beautiful ways to honor the deceased is through what's called sedekah jariyah, which means an ongoing charity. Think of it like this. You could fund the building of a water well in their name, or sponsor a student's education. Every single time someone drinks from that well or benefits from that education, the deceased also receives a reward. It's a way to transform grief into a continuous legacy of light. So when you look at the whole picture, you see that the Islamic funeral is so much more than a checklist of rituals. It's a final, profound act of service that through communal prayer and ongoing acts of charity can actually create a legacy of light that continues to shine long, long after a person has returned to their Creator.